I'm 39 years old. I live in Paris and I have two little girls, daughters. And I'm a French writer. I've published 7 books, in fact 6 novels and 1 short novel. Puisque, rien, dure is about love, and more precisely, what remains of love when love is struck by one of the most terrifying ordeals in life, the loss of one child. And so Puisque, rien, dure is about Geneviève and Vincent, who love each other. We can feel that their love was very strong. And one day their little girl does not come back from school. They will wait for her. And she will never come back. And Geneviève and Vincent will not leave that terrible event in the same way. And solitude is going to come in their couple. They will not be able to communicate anymore. And their couple, their love will explode. And 15 years later, Geneviève wants to see Vincent again. She's dying. And in fact, this is the core of the book. It's what remains of love 15 years later, after that terrible ordeal. And Geneviève will give to Vincent, she will give him life again, in a sense, and Vincent will help Geneviève dying. And so it is a novel with very painful ordeals, but very peaceful too. And we can read the novel from Vincent, who at the beginning of the book is very weak, and at the end of the book can stand up. I don't know if it's the same in Sweden, but in France, when you publish a book, you are invited in many libraries. No. And so I met many of my readers, and many people have lost one child. I did not know that, and many have come and told me it is what I felt, what we felt when we have lost one child. So it was very moving for me, because in fact, when I wrote this book, I wanted to write about love. I did not want to write about a loss of a child, you know what I mean? And I understood after when the book was published, that for people, for the readers, the loss of the child was very important, of course, in the story. So, La confusion des peines is very particular in my work. It is my 6th novel, and it is autobiographic. In fact, it is about a relationship between a father and his daughter. And the daughter is me. And I started from what happened in my family in 2000, when my father, who was an important leader in a French big group, he was condemned for corruption. And at the same time, my mother discovered that she was ill, she had a cancer. And my father made a few months in prison, and during that time my mother was dying. And this is the beginning of the book, but I wanted to talk about what happened after this. It was the silence in my family which covered these events. Nobody in my family after October 2000, after the death of my mother, talked anymore about this, about my father, about my mother. It was forbidden. And this was very violent, more violent than what happened a few months before, you know. And I started from that silence to talk about my relationship with my father, and I think it is not only my relationship with my father, but often between a father and a daughter. It is love and it is silence. And this book was for me very important because in this book, for the first time, I tried to express my voice, Laurence's voice, tried to say something, and it was for me like a new birth. Okay, at the last sentence of the book is "Je suis devenue une femme," which is now I am a woman. I'm not a daughter anymore. I am a woman. So it was like a liberation. Yes, it has been very difficult with my family and particularly with my father. My father did not want me to write the book because I asked him before writing the book. I asked him if I could write on what happened, and he told me no. You can write it when I am dead. When I am dead, not before. And how can I explain that? There was like a battle in me between the daughter and the writer. And I knew, I felt that if I would not write this book, I would not be able to write anymore and to live anymore. It was like that silence, you know, it is very violent. It makes you lose the reasons, you know what I mean. Mm. And so I wrote the book, and my father was very angry with it. He did not want. He wanted that book would not be published. But after the book was finally published, and we talked very much, my father and I. And this was beautiful because, in fact, it was one of the goals of that book. Being able to talk, and so I am very. If I should do it again, I would do it again. It was very violent between my father, but now we have gained something very important, and now we can talk again, and it is our relationship is better than before. And when I wrote that book, I often thought of my children, of the children of my sister and of my brother, because I think silence, you know, silence is very, how do you say, destroys many things, and from generation to generation, and you have to go out of that silence. My experience of Sweden is not concrete. It's unfortunately I've never been there, so I don't know Sweden. But I love, you know, Bergman's film. And for me, when I think of Sweden, I think of his films, his movies. And it was a shock for me when I discovered them 6 or 7 years ago. That's the first thing I would say. And the second thing is, it's funny because 1 month ago, during my holidays, I have just read his autobiography. In France, it's called Laterna Magica. I don't know how it's called in Sweden. It was beautiful. For me, Bergman is also a writer, not only a how do you say, movie maker. And so it moved me very much. So that is only my experience of Sweden. how do I think my book will be read? I don't know. I try to work about feelings which are love, which are fear, which are loss, which are joy. And I think those feelings, of course, are universal. When I read Bergman, when I read what he says about joy, about loss, it is like he would speak of my life, you know. So I hope that I have written, how do you say, just enough to touch, to move Sweden readers, to make them feel something, to make them feel what life is. I have not spoken of one thing which is important for me. Well, I've been writing for years and years, and the more I write, the more I understand that literature is not only a story that you write. And in fact, for me, when I begin a book, I don't know what I will write, what the story will be. It is once the first sentence, which brings me to the second sentence, which brings me to the third sentence. And it is, for me, writing is not, it is like making music. It's, what I want to say is that the story is nothing. It's just the form, the music, the way you can take the story, and the music of the language brings sense. It is not what you say, it is how you say, what tone, what music. Each book has a different music, and this is what I work, really. It's that how it sounds, and the better it sounds, the more, how do you say, the more fair I will be, something like this. Mm-hmm. This is very important. So I know, as for me, I cannot live without writing. And I know that since childhood, when I was 6 years old, I began to write, and I always wrote, and it is necessary, really necessary. And it is always a very moving question, the question of inspiration, because the more I write, the more I understand that I do not know where it comes from, and I am always in fear that one day I have no inspiration more, and what can I do there? I don't know. It is, you know, very... I always write a book which is necessary to me. It is not just to write a story. I don't care writing story. I just want to write books which are necessary to me, and I hope to others.